everybody. Hello, hello. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being here. I'm really excited. I want to do a lot of training today. This is a little bit different because I want to really do some training to really help you look at a holistic way to lose weight. Two, I'm really interested in you seeing where you might be having gaps in your weight loss success, or where maybe you've been really successful with your weight loss and you're saying, oh, these are some areas I can really strengthen and tighten up. So welcome. I'm going to be doing lots and lots of training today. What I want you to be aware of is if you have comments, feel free. For those of you on Facebook, feel free to share in the comment section. For those of you who are on the phone, know that you can always reach out to me privately if you would like to. But I want to do a ton of training because this is an important call. If you see me looking at my notes, if I'm looking up, I apologize, but I am wanting to do a lot of training today, and I really want to make sure I give you all this material. So today I want to talk to you about the 3-part holistic weight loss formula. This is the formula that I've used for the last 23 years with clients. It's changed and evolved in terms of some of the tools as brain science has evolved, as mind work has evolved, and as I've learned more and more tools to continue to help me on my journey. This is also the 3-part formula I want to give you today. This is also what thousands of my clients over these last years have used to lose hundreds of thousands. I was thinking about this. I was like, I think it might be almost into the millions of pounds over these last 23 years. So this works, it works, and you're going to see why that this is such a powerful formula. Just understanding as humans how we've evolved, it's really going to help you. So there are 3 main components that I use when I'm looking at and developing weight loss. And it really has come out of my own struggle with weight, my own inner dialogue, my own emotional eating patterns and tendencies, and looking for solutions, and then seeing that, oh, wait a second, I'm not alone here. You're here too. We're all in this together. And what will make the best, biggest result for you in your weight loss journey? And what I discovered was that it really needs to be holistic, because we are just not living in isolated, only eat this bubbles, right? We just live in these Maybe this day and age, we're a little bit more in a bubble, but typically not so much. So there are 3 components when I'm looking at a holistic model that I use all the time to help my clients and help you lose weight. That's 1, eating like the naturally thin. And we're going to go over each one of these in detail. So 1, eating like the naturally thin. 2, separating foods from emotions. And 3, reprogramming your inner dialogue. Let me say that again. Eating like the naturally thin, separating food from your emotions, and shifting your inner dialogue. Okay? You might want to take notes, because I am going to break each one of these down, and I want you to have a really clear use of this material so that you can use it to lose weight yourself. Okay. So we know that there are 2 main reasons why people gain weight. 1 is with overeating, and 2 is with emotionally turning to food. Yes, there are also things like food sensitivities, inflammation, hormonal imbalances. But most of these can be resolved by eating like the naturally thin, separating food from emotions, and reprogramming your inner dialogue. Because what it does is these are things that help your body to, let's say you're dealing with reprogramming your inner dialogue. If you're saying nicer things to yourself, your cortisol levels goes down. If you're addressing and eating like the naturally thin, your cortisol levels goes down. Your stress is reduced. We're really looking at what your body really enjoys versus what your mind enjoys. We're separating these all out. And so when it comes right down to it, there are two things, two real reasons, main reasons people gain weight. And that is they are overeating and they're emotionally eating. So let's break some of these things down. Let's look at this first area, okay? Let's look at when I talk about helping you lose weight by learning how to eat like the naturally thin, I want to explain what this means to all of you. When I was struggling to lose weight, I thought, oh my goodness, if I wanted to be rich, I did it from that vantage point, which is why I then thought about the body standpoint. But I thought, you know what, if I wanted to get rich, I would study from wealthy people. Here I am wanting to lose weight. Let me start learning from thin people, from people that don't struggle. And so as a psychology student, I just informally started asking people what they do to lose weight. And what I started to find is that the naturally thin, there were really two camps. There were the naturally thin and there were the unnaturally thin. The naturally thin were those that just did it naturally. They didn't really know how they stayed thin. I had to really pull it out of them. And then there were the unnaturally thin, those that were working really hard, counting calories, dieting, working very hard to create a thin, healthy body for themselves. And I knew, because I had dieted, that wasn't exactly the approach that I was drawn to. I was really much more drawn to the naturally thin approach to weight loss. And in that approach, what I discovered was that the naturally thin, after interviewing them over and over and over, they have a set of ways of eating and relating to food that I just couldn't deny, because person after person said the exact same thing. And as I started to copy them, I too started to lose weight, which then started to have me go on this journey where I thought, okay, I'm losing weight by copying these naturally thin people, but I'm also an emotional eater. And I saw that there was a big shift and a difference between the naturally thin and how they approach food and my emotional eating habit and patterns with food. So if you're an emotional eater, you will appreciate this. So the second component in this formula for losing weight is separating your emotions from food. We are not designed to tie our emotions to food. We are just not. We were designed to feel our feelings through expressing them, having healthy outlets for them, and being able to release them. Unfortunately, we went from trying to survive as humans. If we go way back and we look at the human race, we went from trying to survive as human beings with growing our food, farming our food, hunting our food, fishing our food. That took a lot of physical energy. We didn't have that space for the emotional, mental energy way, way back then. To having so much abundance with food that it's unbelievable. So I don't know if you've ever seen this. Have you ever seen Borat? And one of the clips with Borat is he's at a grocery store. And he's at a grocery store with somebody who works as a grocery store employee. And he's asking the grocery store employee, what's this? What's this? What's this? And he just keeps going. And the grocery store employee keeps saying, it's cheese. It's cheese. It's cheese. It's cheese. We have hundreds of options for cheese. We have hundreds of options for crackers. we have hundreds of options, at least in the US, for all of these types of foods. It's not this way in every part of the world, but in the US, where I am, we have hundreds of these options. So having this level of abundance has allowed then for us to then, it makes it physically much easier for us to get food. And so what's happened is, evolutionarily wise, we've then created a much more sophisticated emotional intelligence way of being, because we're not needing to fight, many of us, for food and survival. And so we've developed and have the space for these emotional needs. And as we have more of this emotional intelligence, we also crave more emotional ways to relax, numb out, nurture ourselves, and be supported. But one of the things that I've realized in looking at all of this and emotional intelligence is that many of us, we never took a class. Did you take a class? Maybe you did. I mean, I'm a psychology student, but I never really took a class on how to feel my feelings, what to do with hard emotions, what to do with difficult emotions. No. And so we started to link these up with food, drugs, sex, drinking, and whatnot as a way to cope through our lives, because we never were given the tools as to, well, how do you deal with your emotions? Plus, on top of it, in our society, we see that what is the biggest thing that we see in society that we all want? To be rich, famous maybe, beautiful. Because what does that all mean? Freedom and happiness. Freedom and happiness. And that's what we all want. And freedom and happiness means we should be feeling good all the time. We should be happy all the time. But the truth is we were given biologically a plethora of emotions to feel. And I want all of you to really get that you should be feeling all of them. As you feel this discomfort in your body or the joy, all of these are meant to be felt and experienced, and not, we don't need to run away from the bad ones. And a lot of times what I see happen is that with emotional eating, we're using food to numb out and not feel the negative feelings, because we may have been told that's not good. You got to feel good, girl. You need to be happy. Oh, I love that you're always so happy. Keep being happy. And so food has been used as one of these ways to numb out. And the problem with that is that as we learn to numb out and use an external component like food, we stop learning how to deal with our own emotions and feelings. And so learning to separate our food, which has been the comfort, the number outer, the support from food, means that what are we left with? We're left with, whoa, I'm left with my feeling because I'm not turning to food, and ooh, that doesn't feel comfy. And those of you who've been on this journey with me and have lost gobs of weight, you know that when you start to feel those feelings, it doesn't always feel comfy. When you start to separate food from those feelings, it's not always very comfortable, but it gets more comfortable. But not all of our feelings are meant to feel comfy. We're not meant to always feel good. So allowing a whole plethora of emotions in without tying them to food is the next part of holistic relationship with weight loss. Then third, so let's kind of back up. So one, I want to make sure you're clear. We're eating in alignment with your body's needs, like the naturally thin. One, so then we start losing weight. Two, we're no longer tying food to our emotions. Again, weight loss. So that's where we're already seeing these two aspects of weight loss happening. So let's look at the third aspect that I think is so essential for weight loss, and that is managing your inner dialogue. When it comes to weight loss, our inner dialogue either supports you being healthy, lean, light, and being in the body that you want, and it supports you as you lose weight, or it makes it harder. It's always pushing you harder, making things more challenging on you. So I think it's important to know that let's kind of take an example of this. We gain our inner dialogue through three things. Let's say three things. Our biology, how you were born, like what your natural tendencies are, that have maybe a little bit to do with like your parents, but you have your own biology. Then you have the people who you've surrounded yourself with up to this point, and your experiences, right? Where you've been, what you've seen, who you've been around. That creates your internal dialogue. It creates your beliefs and your thoughts and your politics and your relationship to yourself. That's it. Just those three things: biology, experiences, and people. And so now you have your inner world, your inner dialogue that is going on autopilot all day long. When you could either have, let's say that you have a feeling or a thought that you weren't good enough or you aren't good enough, which many people think on a soul level that they're broken or they're not good enough. This could have come from a parent who told you that, or a partner who told you that. It could also come from your biology, your own thoughts about you wanting to succeed and be better and stronger. And lastly, it could come from your experience of trying something and feeling like you were broken, trying a bunch of diets and they didn't work, trying to lose weight, and man, I just suck at this. So the combination of these three things is what creates your inner dialogue. Whether it's your experience, your biology, or how you were raised, the people around you, it creates everything inside of you. And if you feel that you can't lose weight, or it's hard, or it's difficult, or you suck at it, it's going to make the journey to lose weight so much harder, which is why I believe that the really looking at your inner dialogue as you're losing weight is so important, because if you don't have it on the way down, you're not magically going to go, oh, I'm at my ideal weight. I feel amazing. I'm so amazing. I'm so fantastic. So when we're dealing with your inner dialogue, it's essential that inner dialogue, as you're losing weight and as you are at your ideal weight, is loving, is kind, is open-minded, and help support you. We often think it does the opposite. Like if we're so kind and loving, that it's going to say, oh, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we weigh. But the reality is that when we're really hard on ourselves, if we pick apart every single thing that we do, then we never feel good enough, and it makes it that much harder to lose weight. So how many of you are with me here saying, okay, yes, I want you to share with me where you feel like I've got this nailed, like what is working for you and where you can still tweak, whether it's your inner dialogue, your separating your emotional eating with food, or eating in a way that's naturally thin, honoring your body, listening to your body. And you can share with me in the chat. I would love to see. So because this creates the 3-part formula. This is why when you simply go on a diet, you're leaving out the emotional part of you and the mental part of you. And that's the problem. That's why you might go on a diet and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm going to do this. It's going to be awesome. And it can be for a while. But if your mind starts to then take you out of the game, or your emotions start to take you out of the game, then what happens is you go off that diet, you're dealing with the emotional and mental aspect of your life, and then that creates the weight again. But if you learn to deal emotionally and mentally at the same time as physically, what happens is then that's the triad of success. Does that make sense? So I want you to just be aware of where you might be struggling in these areas, where you might find yourself really seeing breakdowns with your eating, with your emotional self, and with your mental self. So where are you wanting to transform? Where, as you think about 2021 and you think about losing weight, being in your best body, being your best self, where do you see your greatest opportunity for transformation? Is that in your inner dialogue? Is that separating your emotional eating from your food? So in other words, your emotions from your food? Or is it really looking at the opportunity of being inside of your body, eating when your body is craving food, needs food, eating when your body's hungry, stopping when your body's satisfied? Where do you see that the greatest opportunity for your transformation is? Because when you're doing these three things, you will not have to turn to a diet anymore. You'll know that the issue with your weight has to do with eating thin, thinking, and your emotions. And then we can look at, okay, that's the area we need to tweak, or these are the two areas that I can tweak. Okay? It is so important that you see why you're on this journey. This formula is what is responsible for getting my weight off, thousands, hundreds of thousands, and maybe millions of pounds, thousands of pounds just this last year alone for my clients, because they were open enough to say yes to a different strategy for weight loss. And I know it's a different strategy. Is it easier to just go on a diet and be told what to eat? Sometimes. But the problem is that this is why people who go on diets oftentimes and or have gastric bypass surgery gain their weight back, because if they don't learn the emotional and mental strategies, then what happens is then they oftentimes struggle and then gain that weight back, because we can take your stomach, right? Because your stomach's like a muscle. We can bring it back down, right? A gastric bypass, gastric sleeve brings that stomach down to like a grape size. So of course it takes much less food to make you feel satisfied. And so you lose weight. But here's the thing too. If your stomach can keep growing and you don't learn the mental and emotional aspects, then what happens is that stomach physically goes back to growing. And then you gain your weight back. So let's look at where you all want to focus your time, your energy this year. I'm excited to read these. So, Barbara, you need to work on your inner dialogue. Beautiful. Write that down. Know that. What does that mean for you now to work on your inner dialogue? Now, some of you might want to look at, okay, here's where my inner dialogue is. And just write down what you notice you say to yourself. You could even have a note on your phone, and then every time you say something, you're like, oh, there you go, or a piece of paper, and you just start getting clear what you're currently saying, and then you can get clear of what you want to say, what would be in alignment with you being that healthy, light, lean you. Paula, you're working on the emotional aspect. So this year, your focus, Paula, is working on separating your emotions from food. Separating the two, which means that when your body is not needing food and you're not hungry and you just want food, what is it that you're actually really wanting? I encourage you to get out a journal, buy a beautiful journal, and start to get really clear on emotionally where your life needs love, support, connection, what you're needing. Allison, I go on autopilot. I don't get in front of habits. Also, inner dialogues needs plenty of tweaking. So the autopilot means that you go, and it feels 100% unconscious. But when we go on autopilot, what it means is that, and I just did a podcast yesterday on this, is that quickly we've programmed our brain to quickly have a statement like, I want to eat it. Let's have that. And then we feel, yeah, let's do that. And then we go eat. So to get in front of the autopilot, we've got to bring in more consciousness, more mindfulness, more intention around how you want to show up with food and eating, and things like tracking your behaviors around food, or planning for the day ahead can help. Any way that it brings more conscious awareness to the table, if you will, then it can help you. And that will support you if you also support your inner dialogue by saying things like, I eat consciously, mindfully. I allow a variety of delicious foods into my body when my body's hungry. And before I eat, I gauge how hungry I am, or something that brings in some consciousness to the table. Okay, so we want to move out of that automatic eating into more mindful and conscious eating. So we got to bring more consciousness in. And I would ask yourself, Allison, if you're open and willing to do that, and how you are open and willing to make that happen. You want to improve in all three, but all three, I know my inner dialogue is where the real work is for you. Okay, so if we start there, that can branch out to these other parts. So I want you to also, Kathy, write down a whole list. Where would you like to tweak? What's not working? And then from that vantage point, you can have clarity about what you would like to say instead. And then from that clarity, it can align. You can have words and phrases in your inner dialogue around honoring your body when it's hungry and separating your emotions from food. Sandy, so darn true. Spent most of my life knowing that I wasn't worth it. I was told you're nothing but a troublemaker as a child. So yeah, you were the bad one. I was kind of the bad one too. And so then you start to believe like, I'm bad, I'm bad, I'm bad. How's that playing out? Instead of maybe you're just really spirited and curious and playful and inquisitive and fun. What about that? Why don't we change that inner dialogue to change your identity, change how you were raised, and what that you're nothing but a troublemaker? What did that actually really mean? What was cool about being the troublemaker? And let's change that identity for you and make it something fun and positive, because that's in essence what it was. The troublemaker means you were spirited, you were fun, you were playful, you were adventuresome. All these qualities make for an amazing you. Learning to feel your feelings, Michelle. Yes. So we'll do lots of work in the inner circle around this. Feeling your feelings, allowing them in, allowing yourself to start identifying what a feeling is. Sometimes we've gone so numb in our lives because of trauma, abuse, something significant that's happened in our lives. And all of a sudden it's like, I can't even feel my feelings because it's not safe to do so. So then I'm telling you, oh, let's start separating your feelings from food. And you're like, what? I don't even know what my feelings are. Right? We don't even know. And that's normal. It's not normal that you don't feel your feelings, but it's normal that that happens in relationship to weight and body. So to move out of that space and start feeling, the first step is starting to identify, putting a name to some of your feelings. And it's as simple as getting out a feeling chart, printing out one that you probably see in therapist's office. How am I feeling today? And being able to just put a finger to it. This is a good feeling. I'm feeling kind of nothing. Okay, I'm feeling nothing. But I don't feel sad. Okay, so we know that those feelings are not what you're feeling, but you're feeling somewhere in the middle. Great. So we start to bring your awareness to these, to putting a label. The first thing we do when we start to feel our feelings is just label it. Then we can start saying inside of our body, is it a warm feeling? Is it a cold feeling? Is it settled somewhere in my body? Do I feel it in my body? Then we start to expand that by knowing that a feeling often exists, or feelings exist physically. We are mind, body, spirit. And so our feelings exist somewhere in our body. And so you might not know that you're sad, but you may say, oh, I have a really heavy heart, or I feel really heavy right here. So we know that that is a feeling, that is a heavier feeling, not a positive feeling. And so we start to go, okay, great. So we start to use body-centered therapy to start really looking at where your feeling exists. Jackie, thank you for all your knowledge and willing to speak on the subject. Oh, thank you, Jackie. That was so sweet. Thank you. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I've seen that my clients that have had bypass reach their, probably restretch their stomach after surgery. It happens all the time. Yes, it happens all the time. I get many of them as my clients because they want to do the mental and emotional work to lose weight because they saw, hey, listen, or as they're starting to gain weight, this is great to do. Let's say you've had a gastric bypass surgery and you're starting to gain weight. Learning how to then deal with the emotional, mental part is beautiful because then you start to really tackle this and not see all that weight start to creep up. Yes, shrinking that stomach down. All three, Lizzie. Hi, Lizzie. Inner dialogue is where I need more focus. Okay, great. That is wonderful. Teresa, you said all three, we're going to, so here's the thing. We're going to work on all of these. We're going to keep working on it. It is a journey. It's a journey. The becoming your best and healthiest self. I mean, it would be amazing. And I do hypnotherapy and I do different things, right? I do different ways to bring this information into your brain. And you've lost gobs of weight. All of you, I can see all of you have lost so much weight. The reason is because you keep focusing on these three elements. And inside the inner circle and all of my programs, you all know this, I will focus on this these three areas. Okay? Triad, I should say. I'm focusing on letting go more and trusting myself. Roberta, that is awesome. That is fantastic. It is a letting go process and learning to trust yourself. Now, let's talk about trust because I think this is a really important aspect of losing weight. I get so many women coming to me saying, I just don't trust myself. And it's like, of course you don't. When you've dieted for so long, you stop trusting your ability to lose weight. Of course you don't trust yourself. You're smart. And when you've tried something over and over and over again and it hasn't worked, of course you don't trust yourself to lose weight. But building the trust comes from, one, saying what you are going to do, starting to take action in what you say you're going to do, and then recognizing and rewarding that action, rewarding what you said you were going to do. So in other words, if I say, I'm going to go to bed tonight and I'm going to go to bed and I'm going to drink water and I'm going to avoid late night eating. Okay. So I'm going to go to bed and enjoy my night and food is not going to be part of the equation. And then I do that. That reinforces in my brain, I can trust myself. I just did this. So I go, hey, yeah, maybe I go to my calendar and I put a star on there like, good job, you did this one night. And then I do it again. And then I do it again. And then I do it again. All this reinforces the trust inside of your brain and your heart and your soul and your life to go, hey, I'm now starting to trust that I can do this. Maybe my identity isn't such that I totally feel 100% secure that I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. But hey, you know what? I am that person right now. And I am going to passionately keep creating it and keep rewarding it. Keep recognizing how awesome I am. So when it comes to trust, it's the following through on what you say you're going to do. That builds trust, just like any relationship. Rewarding that when you do it. Showing, being aware, having the consciousness to say, oh, I actually did this. What so many people do, and this is the problem, this is where the inner dialogue work comes from. So many times what you do is, let's say you do follow up and follow through, and you do a great job of not eating late at night. What I see so many of you doing is then you pick on another part of yourself that's broken. So in other words, you go, oh yeah, I did a really good job last night of not eating when I'm hungry, but I still am struggling with, do you see how you never allow yourself to have the compliment? You just override the compliment with something negative. Oh, I'm still broken. And so then you reinforce the brokenness and not trust. That's the mistake I'm seeing so often that needs a lot of attention from many of you. Stop giving yourself the recognition and the reward and then override it with something wrong or a way that you're broken. I see this with, I was talking to a client yesterday who was saying, I've done such a great job working out, but then my brain will go to, oh, I didn't do it well enough. I didn't do it long enough. I didn't do Tabata. I didn't do interval training. I didn't, right? It's like here she has done such a great job moving her body, and her brain still isn't allowing her the joy and the celebration of it. That's the problem. So if you're never enjoying, you're never celebrating, you're never giving yourself the positive inner dialogue reinforcement, no wonder why you're struggling. No wonder why exercise sucks. No wonder why losing weight sucks. You've reinforced inside your brain it sucks. You can never do it right. You can never do it well enough. That is a problem. So when I talked earlier about your inner dialogue needing to change on the way down to your ideal weight, the reason being is that when you practice having more positive thoughts and beliefs and kindness and supporting yourself, when you finally get down to your ideal weight, all of a sudden you have all this inner dialogue that supports you staying there. You have the emotions, you have the emotional ability and intelligence, you have the mental fortitude and thinking to help support you. But I'm so sad and so upset with this way of showing up in our lives, and so many of us do it. This is more normal than not, of never allowing ourselves to celebrate. What is wrong with that? I feel like as women, we were really conditioned not to celebrate, not support ourselves, not be, right? It's like we're bitchy or we're boastful or we're something, right? And it has this negative connotation versus being like, oh, I'm really proud of myself. Have you ever given somebody a compliment and they actually take it? They go, really? Thank you. Versus deflect it. Oh, but I have all these other things that are wrong with me. Oh, thanks for the compliment on my hair. Or thanks for saying I lose weight. Yeah, my legs are still jiggly and fat though. We don't even take the compliments. These are like mini gifts that other people are giving us, and we don't even take them. So that's why this is so important. Why changing your inner dialogue while learning to trust yourself is a really important aspect of the long-term weight loss strategy. And we have to do that by changing our inner dialogue and rewarding ourselves and doing what we say we're going to do. So often you all do this. You say you do exactly what you say you're going to do, right? You start a new diet. You say exactly, you're going to do exactly what the diet says. And then over time, it's not good enough. You haven't lost enough weight. You are still not liking something. You're still so hard on yourself. The inner dialogue hasn't changed. And so that's where the cycle of diet or gain weight, lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, gain weight, lose weight. If you're sick and tired of that, then we got to change something. We got to make a shift. And the ways that I can help you make that happen are twofold. One, all of you, if you haven't taken my free weight loss course, that's going to start setting this into motion by giving you a workbook and a video process to go through. Two, you should get on, you go to thinwithin.com, thinwithin.com, get on the wait list for my next 30-day challenge. This will start every single week. I'm focusing on one of these areas. I do that 100% strategically. That's why we get such amazing results in that 30-day challenge. You will lose weight, or you will change your mind or your relationship with food. You will see a positive shift. I have now hundreds of testimonials speaking to just that because it's so powerful. And then if you want to do the advanced work, let's say you've done the course. Let's say you have gone through the 30-day challenge. You really want to do more intensive work, then that's what we do in the Inner Circle. It is a membership site community where every month I'm focused on an area. And like the last 2 months I did 8 weeks, 8 pounds down. Before that, I did hypnotherapy sessions. We do support group. We do coaching. We do masterminding. We do a lot inside of there. There's accountability groups. That's the advanced work. You have to know the foundation first. And that's my Thin Within Method products. That is my 30-day challenge. That's the free weight loss course. Once you understand those and you start practicing them, then you can go into that more advanced work in the Inner Circle. Okay? But I want you to get really clear this year where you could up level your inner dialogue, emotional eating, or relationship with food in terms of physically listening to your body. Lizzie, you said, oh, Tracy said, so true. Why do we do this? Yeah, we do this as a self-protection. Remember, our brain wants to keep us safe. It is one of the highest desires for our brain is to keep us safe. And if at any point we feel like, ooh, we're getting too cocky, or we heard that cockiness lends itself to something negative, our brain pulls itself back and says, oh, let's get safe. Let's get safe. Let's not be cocky. Let's go back to what we feel is safe. No, that's why we have to move through the brain. That's why so much of my work is about reprogramming the brain. The brain is always actually reprogramming and changing and shifting itself. But we have to reprogram it so that you start to get comfy with saying nicer, kinder things, starting to see that you don't have to take yourself out of the game with a negative comment every time you do something good. Part of it's just the practice of, whoa, every time I give myself a compliment, I'm actually going to receive it without a but, without a must, without a negative connotation to it. I just did this. At work, people complimented me on how much I lost. And then I said, yeah, but I still have a ways to go, even though I thank them. Tracy, you look freaking awesome. So this is, right? I'm not crazy when I say this. I've done this myself. I know it. I've seen it happen thousands of times. I see it every day. You all are losing weight, and yet you're not really allowing all your hard work to be celebrated, to be acknowledged, to be seen. Because on some way the brain thinks that's not safe or that's boastful. I don't know. Maybe it's a whole conditioning also of sort of women in general. I was taught as a girl, anger was forbidden. That it was only appropriate to be angry at myself. I see my mom's intention to teach me good manners. But anger itself as a bad habit is off. 100%. Absolutely being able to manage anger or to have beautiful manners. I'm a big manners person myself, but understanding, see, this is where evolutionary, like we even take 100 years back. Look at 100 years ago. And look how much we've evolved emotionally and mentally in this last 100 years. We're starting to have emotional intelligence like never before. We're starting to look at, oh, how do I deal with my emotions? There are classes, there's the work I do, right? We're seeing this. This was not available because we had to survive and thrive. And we were working hard, and there was the Great Depression, and there were all of these things happening. But that's why it's so important to really look at, okay, now many of us, thank goodness, have food on our table. We have an abundance, like I was telling you about Borat, right? Hundreds of different even options for cheeses. Now we have to learn to manage the most important thing in our life as it relates to our bodies. It relates to everything. Because when you do this work around your body, it impacts every single area of your life. You have to do this around your mind and reprogramming your thoughts and your emotions. So I hope I've given you both the education and also why, if you ever question, gosh, why am I doing this when I could just diet and be told what to eat? I know it seems much easier than having to actually feel my feelings. Actually having to change my thinking. And I get that. It could be easier to eat a salad and just eat salads every day for lunch. But when you actually know why we're doing this work, why this work matters, and not just, it matters for all of you, and it also matters for the world. This goes way beyond just us. It matters to your families. It matters to the impact and the legacy you leave to your kids and your grandkids. To learn how to deal with your emotions and your thoughts, that impacts everybody. Wouldn't it be amazing to have been given this gift of understanding your brain and how to deal with feelings and thoughts? Like when we were young, so much younger. It's a beautiful gift to leave for our kids and our families. And that's the work we do inside of the inner circle, and the work that I'm so 100% passionate about, because I know it will change your life. Even if you change 25% of your thoughts or your thinking or your negative thinking, if you just change 25% of your negative thinking to more positive, I know I've left a powerful legacy for you in your life. And that to me is why I do this work, because I want to make a difference for your brain, for your life, for your body in a very holistic way. So you're not in a pattern of shoulds and musts and have-tos and hate, but you're in a framework of opportunity and possibility and options. And of course, I'm not perfect. I have moments of overeating. I have moments where I don't like me, where I don't like anybody, where I'm down. But I have these tools that have made such a difference for my life that I so want them in your lives too. So one, know that you can, if you need more advanced work, Inner Circle, get your name on the wait list on my thinwithin homepage to be in the next 30-day challenge coming up. Registrations next week. And or take my free course. If nothing else, if I piqued your interest, take my free course, see what this is about. See if I can help you start to explore your brain and what's going on in terms of your identity. All right? So, I'm so glad you love this. Yay! I'm so happy. I'm so happy you're here. I'm so glad that the timing, I thought, you know what? What could be the most impactful thing that I could leave you with as we start in 2021? I have to get used to that. 2021. I was thinking, I want to just break down why I do this work, what the work is all about, and why this gets you all such awesome results, and where you can start exploring you'd like to focus your time and energy in making the difference for your weight and your body. All right? And oftentimes they all intersect. They all intersect. When I started to learn how to eat thin, I was like, awesome. And then I was like, oh wait, but I emotionally really want this food, and this has nothing to do with hunger. And I thought, oh, I gotta now search for how to deal with emotional eating. Dang it. And then once I got that resolved, I was like, oh, but I'm still really mean to myself. Okay, I gotta start working on that part too. So it all comes from my own journey, and I hope that this helps you in your journey. So now that you feel good, now that you feel inspired, now that you know to accept compliments and start seeing what's great about your life, your body, and to start taking action in a positive way and stop overriding the positive with something negative, go out into today. Have an amazing day. Be good to yourself. Be good to others. Accept compliments. And I'll talk to all of you soon. All right, everybody. Big hugs, and I'm glad you like this. Bye.